Quick note before I start this video, if anyone is popping in here to leave a nasty comment about Kelsey, Bart or Bart's sister, I will block you from the channel. I've blocked people in my past videos for their comments on Kelsey. I've reported some comments to YouTube for bullying and harassing the poor girl. Stop it, leave these people alone. This is a photo of Tony Klein and 3 kids on his back. Kegan in the middle, the youngest, and Tony's stepson and daughter on either side. Kegan is their half-brother. They refer to him as their brother, so that's how I'm going to refer to him in this video. Tony isn't their dad, he was their stepdad for a few years. They want nothing to do with him. This photo was posted on Facebook by Kegan's sister with this caption: "Here's proof that we aren't lying. There's no conflicting stories about what Bart said. It's all true, and here's a picture of Bart, Kegan, myself and Tony. My cast is from a broken leg due to Tony chasing me with a dirt bike." What she's talking about here is what I was telling you in my last video about Anya and Kevin from Murder She podcast. They said that they had an interview with the person who Tony smashed into the toilet as a kid. That's Bart. He was Tony's stepson at the time. They released the interview during the week and he had a lot of interesting things to say. Tony put these kids through hell in their childhood. They are adults now and doing well, but you can clearly see and hear the PTSD from Bart's voice. He talks about things that are normal to him that just aren't normal, and I think sometimes he doesn't really realise it until he's talking out loud. And he has a good idea who Tony is. He knows Tony. He was with him for his whole childhood. His first memory of a birthday party when he was younger, Tony was there. He was married to his mom for about 10 years, so he basically knew Tony since he was a toddler till he was around 12. And he said Tony's side of the family is the only side of the family that he knew for a long time, because Tony had blocked out all the mother's relations and all her friends, all the usual stuff. He said all the Kleins knew about the abuse that Tony used to hand out over the years. Tony was the person who Bart called dad for half his childhood. He knows him well, and he calls him, quote, "the worst person I've ever known." His childhood was full of fear of him because how physical abusive he was towards him, his mother, his sister. And Bart talks about how he thought it was all normal, that this goes on in every house. It wasn't until he went to his friend's house he realised that it wasn't normal. And even listening to this interview, there's still things to this day that Bart is bringing up that he thinks is very normal that isn't normal at all. He definitely has a bit of PTSD from this man, no doubt. He calls him, quote, "an evil person," but in a very casual, matter-of-fact kind of way. He said that his mother said Tony was bipolar and that he could see that in him. He said he was a prick basically and didn't really try to hide it, or at least didn't hide it that well. This wasn't a case of totally different man behind closed doors or anything like that. He was violent in public, had no issues with it. It was very normal, it wasn't a hidden thing. He talks about plates being smashed off the wall, his sister getting thrown through a door, Tony on top of his mom punching her in the face full force, she's on the ground in a complete frenzy. His mother used to always have black eyes, it was just open out there, broken nose once. Very normal, not a hidden thing at all. Tony is a complete control freak. He said if you were sitting in a room at night and you got up to get a glass of water and you didn't ask Tony before you got up to get that glass of water, it would result in violence. Tony cannot control himself if he's not managing all the decisions. He said he had a couple of friends that he used to ride bikes with, go to car races with, no one in particular that he can remember. Tony loved his cars, loved telling people how much money he has. Sounds very much like the persona in the Anthony Shots profile. Bart said he did make an attempt when he first came into his life to be a kind of father figure, but once he lost a bit of control he pulled away completely. And Bart actually had the name Bart Klein for 2 years. Tony and his mum went to the school, all Tony's doing, and changed Bart's name to Klein, which caused the child embarrassment, chaos, confusion. His biological dad was raging over it, as you would be. This shows Tony and his dominance and his trying to have ownership over things. And I think he resented these 2 kids because he could never have that with them. He was never going to get that. Bart then talks about the bathroom story, and it's important to note he had no idea that Anya and Kevin knew this before telling the story. He hadn't seen the transcripts or anything like that at the time. And he pretty much recounts the same story. If anything, Bart kind of downplays it and leaves 1 or 2 details out until later on. I will link the podcast down below in the description. You have to go and listen to this because you need to listen to it to actually understand the trauma and PTSD that's coming out of Bart as he's telling the story. When Anya and Kevin read him the transcript, he's shocked. He's shocked to hear it out loud. He's shocked that this was read to Kegan. And that's when he opens up a small bit more about the injuries. He's like, oh yeah, I still have the scars on my head and stuff. But again, very, very casual about it. He says he doesn't remember being hurt, but clearly he had a severe concussion and it was a traumatic experience for him. The hospital records are there. We know what happened. He does remember going to the hospital. He remembers talking to the police there at the time. He was 8 years old when this happened. And Tony was out of the picture for a while after this happened. He did come back for a year or two, and then finally Bart's mum bounced him and they separated. After this bad assault, he didn't assault him anymore like that. And we know why, because it was a much more severe assault than Bart recounts. And much more serious than you might think when you're listening to Bart tell the story. He has memories of being in Delphi when he was younger, fishing. He loved hunting. He was an avid hunter. Liked hunting, fishing and cars. That was it. Oh, and motorbikes. He had an interest in motorbikes. He said he was interviewed by the FBI for hours, and he did get the vibe that Tony was involved. He says he doesn't want to believe it and hopes it is not true, but says Tony is definitely someone he could see losing his mind and killing someone. He said he had the rage factor. Anya then asks him, did he ever threaten you with a knife or anything like that? And very quickly again casually responds, oh yeah, absolutely. Very normal, no hesitation with the answer. And he said weapons were normal or whatever was handy. Baseball bats were a regular thing. He said once Tony was trying to play a game on a desktop PC and Bart was trying to tell him, you can't play that because the RAM in the PC is too low, you need to upgrade the PC. Tony got mad, ripped the PC with sockets attached up from the desk on the table and chased Bart with it and threw it at him. The abuse didn't stop with his mother because after they separated, Bart had heard, maybe from Kegan, maybe from other people, that Tony was abusing his new girlfriends. He says Kegan went to live with him when they separated and doesn't think he knows much of the abuse. Kegan was shielded from a lot of it when he was younger, and they didn't really talk about it, but he knows that Bart doesn't want anything to do with Tony. He was pretty close to Kegan, calls him his little brother. They're still texting today, but he says he doesn't even want to text him back anymore. He said Tony used to leave him get away with everything when he was younger. He didn't treat him like he treated the other kids, and it was more like a friend relationship than a father-son. He did say he's not very close with Kegan, but he'd be the closest sibling and they talk about just video games and stuff. He told us he is a compulsive liar, lies about silly things. He once sent him, which is just kind of important, he sent him a photograph of him in Vegas that was clearly photoshopped. And Bart calls him out on it and he's like, oh yeah, I was just checking to see, did you notice? I'm testing my Photoshop skills. He said Kegan was very open about moving to Vegas, and he told him some of the lies that we kind of already heard and we know are lies. And this is a story that him and Tony made up together and stuck with it and lied to everybody about it. Not just strangers on Facebook. Why did they do this? What's going on here? Why did they do this? There must be a reason. He called Kegan a big angry guy. Said he had anger issues, very much like his dad. He didn't see him ever assault a woman, but he said he did see him explode in rage and anger. And the most shocking part for me was probably, I think it's in the middle of this podcast, when they ask him about the voice. I'm going to play 2 small clips for you here, but please go and check out this full podcast after this. You really need to hear Bart. He's very, very credible. Murder Sheet again, amazing job. Love the way they left some of the pauses in and they didn't edit that stuff out. It just really immerses you into the conversation. It's also worth noting that Bart did meet Tony a few years back in the movie theatre. Just a quick conversation. So he does know his voice. He also will definitely have a memory of Tony when Tony is angry and in that mood and trying to control people. This is what he said when he was asked, does the voice of the guy saying down the hill sound like Tony?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he has like a very kind of high-pitched, weird voice. Like it's not deep at all. So yeah, I did not think it was Tony.
And this is what he said when he was asked, does it sound like Kegan? I'm going to leave the pause in here from just after when the question was asked.
It did sound like Kegan, I will be honest. I'm just going to be honest. It did sound like him to me. Yeah.
That shocked me. I was expecting him to confirm that it was Tony. So what's going on here? Is this some little sick wrestling tag team match? Like, to me, Bridge Guy walks like Tony, doesn't fit Kegan. Kegan would be too heavy for him. But I completely believe Bart about the voice. I do. So is this what Doug Carter meant when they switched sketches and he said, you didn't think we would go in this route? Tony clearly could do this without Keegan's help, but Keegan could not do it without Tony's help. Do they know the two of them are involved? Are they waiting for one of them to flip on the other? Is that why they were putting pressure on Keegan? Lying to him saying, we know for sure you're not involved. Wanting him to throw his dad under the bus. But in reality, Ellie know both of them were involved. Let me know your thoughts. It's suddenly starting to make a lot of sense, isn't it? All these little things that we thought had no meaning actually did. Let me know your thoughts. Good luck, God bless, have a good day. I hope today is the day.